earlier this year, the Trump admin's overt imperialism, tariff trade wars, and overall erratic belligerence saw a momentary fissure in US-European relations. So-called. I mean, seemingly, seemingly. But US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth demanded that NATO not rely on the US and agreed to a new defense spending target of 5% of GDP. Now, that seemed to ruffle some feathers, but it seems like compliance is imminent. Can you help us break down the current US-NATO ally relations? What is actually going on?
Well, actually, I think that it's pretty clear for a long time now that Europe is a colony of the United States. We are not independent. We don't have our own strategy about anything at all, not about trade policy, not about economic system, not about military doctrine. Everything is subservient to the interests and strategic agenda of the United States. So I think that that's the main idea. And after that, what we are seeing in these times after the assumption of Trump and the second presidency of Trump is basically an effort to exert that domination even more. So basically to use Europe as a base for their agenda of domination and exploitation towards the rest of the world. So in this sense, I don't think that anything substantial has changed. I mean, what is really, I would say it's even more evident that that is the purpose, and what you see in the declarations of, among others, the Secretary of State, but also European leaders like Ursula von der Leyen or Mark Rutte, the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands and now General Secretary of the NATO. I mean, they don't even hide it anymore. They don't have to conceal anything because basically there is also this general consensus. I mean, this permanent state of emergency by which people are contaminated by this politics of fear and division. I mean, it's of course something that has been cultivated in the last years that has also created this situation where far right and right populisms are attaining more and more positions of power, of institutional power. And that is functional to this agenda of subservience to the US strategic goals. So in that sense, there is nothing new. I would say it's a more aggressive phase of this integration into the domination structure of the US.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, in terms of what are the strategies that we can utilize to deal with that, one of the things that you are part of organizing is the upcoming Counter-Summit for Peace and Justice, which is happening, like we said earlier, on Saturday, on the 21st, in preparation for the NATO summit that will be held in The Hague on the 24th and 25th of June. So can you explain the purpose and aims of the Counter-Summit? What do you hope to gain from it?
Well, let me first go a little bit into what they expect to get at the NATO summit in The Hague, because I think this is a really, really important event in a very crucial moment. I mean, we are seeing as weeks go by that the uncertainty and this unstable geopolitical situation is actually turning into flames everywhere. And the last example we've seen in the last couple of days with the aggression of Israel against Iran. I would say that, I mean, of course, the idea, the explicit goal of the summit is to align all countries and force them into one commitment of percentage of GDP in military spending. So they say 3.5 and then 5% by 2035. So I think that, this bullying into forcing every single country into dedicating public money and public resources into militarization, I think is the main goal. But then you have other goals, which is basically advancing into interoperability, into plans of public procurement. So basically a enhanced coordination, both at the, let's say, organizational aspects of how different countries come together and get ready for war, because that is the goal, to get everyone ready for war, both the governments, the states, and the population. And at the same time, advancing into more, let's say, interoperability or military coordination aspects. So basically, this NATO summit is aiming at making people ready for war. And you read that in the declarations of Mark Rutte, among others as well, Ursula von der Leyen, like basically saying, well, if you want peace, you have to prepare for war. Take out your Russian language courses if you're not, if you don't get ready. I mean, this continuous fear mongering and this pushing people into fear and forcing us to accept their plans. So we want to oppose that. I mean, the original idea when we came together several months ago, my party, the Revolutionary Socialist Party, and our youth organization, which is called ROOD, we got in touch with what is called the New Peace Movement, which is a new coalition of smaller organizations and other political parties in the Netherlands. And we came up with the idea of, organizing this event, which is meant to be a space for encounter, a space for debate, but also a space for confronting the plans of NATO in the streets of The Hague. So we're going to have this Counter-Summit, which is an event taking place on Saturday, 21. We're going to have different panels, 16 different sessions, where we're going to actually debate and share our knowledge and our experiences and our analysis about the different implications that NATO has in our lives, that it has on the environment, that it has on public spending, the well-being of the population, basically trying to come together around one common shared analysis on what's going on, and then coming up with alternatives and with solutions, because we understand that people is in fear, that people is, with all this hysteria going on. I mean, we understand that people want responses and want to see at a future which is brighter and more human. So we're actually working actively for that. And at the same time, I mean, we're having our keynote speakers. We're having Jeremy Corbyn. We're having Peter Mertens, which is the General Secretary of the Workers' Party in Belgium. We're having Varsha Gandikota-Nellutla of the Progressive International. And then we're going to have first level or world-class speakers, but also, political organizers, people involved in local campaigns. So we want to organize this space for encounter, for discussion, and for strategizing. We're looking forward. And we want this to be, and that's probably the second most important goal of our effort, is trying to revitalize this anti-militaristic, anti-imperialist, pacifist movement, both in the Netherlands, in Europe, and also the rest of the world. I mean, so far we have people, coming from, I think it's something like 30 plus countries from 3, 4 different regions, people from Latin America, people from the US, coming from everywhere in the world. So we expect that it's going to be massive. It's going to be really productive. We're going to have live stream as well. So we expect 400 people in the room. And then we expect that there will be a big follow-up by means of a live stream. 25 journalists already are going to be present among the attendance. So I think it's going to be a big event. And then the 22nd, which is on Sunday, we're going to have a massive demonstration in the streets of The Hague. I mean, The Hague right now is a militarized post. For weeks now, we're being subjected to this, again, this warmongering, this fear-mongering effort to scare people off and, take them out of the streets and let them, just in peace and quiet discuss their plans to destroy us. And we refuse that. We're going to be on the streets the 22nd. We're going to mobilize people. We're calling every single organization, every individual, people that is concerned, legitimately concerned about the state of affairs, to come, gather, and march on the streets of The Hague on the 22nd at 2 o'clock. So that's essentially what we have planned. And then, of course, we will see what happens, because we expect a lot of discussion, a lot of exchanges. There's going to be a number of side events starting on Friday evening. There's going to be music, there's going to be culture, there's going to be also, struggle and celebration. That is the combination that we want to achieve.